At your last appointment, your doctor probably looked at your cholesterol numbers, mentioned your blood pressure was a little high, and handed you a prescription on the way out. No discussion about your diet, no mention of anything you could drink, just a slip of paper and a wave goodbye. But here is something worth knowing. In a landmark clinical study published in the journal Clinical Nutrition, patients with significantly clogged arteries who drank one specific morning juice every single day for 1 year saw their arterial plaque decrease by up to 30%, not slow down, not stay the same, actually shrink, and their blood pressure dropped by 12% without a single medication change. So the question worth asking is this: if the research is this clear, why is it not part of the conversation at your appointment? I am Dr. Linda Thompson, and on this channel I bring you clear, evidence-based health guidance designed specifically for adults over 60. Today I want to talk about what the science actually shows about one of the most studied foods in cardiovascular research, what it does inside your arteries, why the form you choose matters enormously, and exactly how to incorporate it into your morning routine safely and effectively. I want to be clear with you from the start. This is not a miracle cure. This is not a replacement for your medications. What it is a food studied in dozens of controlled clinical trials and confirmed to have measurable, documented effects on the exact biological processes that lead to clogged arteries and high blood pressure. We are not talking about a folk remedy. We are talking about real science that deserves a real conversation. Many of the people I have worked with assumed that once arterial plaque had begun to accumulate, the process was simply irreversible, that you managed it with medication and hoped for the best. The research suggests that assumption deserves a much closer look. Stay with me, because the protocol at the end is specific enough to implement starting tomorrow morning. Let us start with what is actually happening inside your arteries. Because once you understand the mechanism, everything else makes complete sense. Atherosclerosis is the medical term for what most people call clogged arteries. It begins when the inner lining of your artery walls becomes damaged. Think of that lining like the smooth coating on the inside of a garden hose. When it is healthy and intact, blood flows freely. When it becomes inflamed or damaged, your body responds by sending cholesterol particles to patch it up, the same way you would fill a crack in a wall. Here is where the real trouble begins. The cholesterol particles that cause the most damage are the ones that have been oxidized, chemically altered by harmful molecules called free radicals. Oxidized LDL cholesterol is far more dangerous than regular LDL. It sticks to artery walls more aggressively, it triggers inflammation, and it gets consumed by immune cells that then transform into what scientists call foam cells. These foam cells are the actual building blocks of arterial plaque. Over years and decades, this plaque accumulates, hardens, narrows the channel blood flows through, and eventually, if a piece breaks off and blocks a vessel entirely, you have a heart attack or a stroke. Here is what most people never realize: that oxidation process can be meaningfully slowed. And the morning drink I am about to describe works directly on that mechanism. The drink is pomegranate juice, 1 cup, 8 ounces. Consumed every single morning. Pomegranate juice contains an extraordinary class of polyphenol compounds, including phenolicogens, anthocyanins, and ellagic acid. These are the molecules responsible for its deep ruby red color, and more importantly for its documented effect on the cardiovascular system. Multiple independent research groups have found that these compounds directly target the oxidation of LDL cholesterol. In the landmark study published in Clinical Nutrition, after 12 months of daily consumption, participants' LDL susceptibility to oxidation dropped by 59%, and an enzyme your body naturally uses to prevent LDL oxidation increased in activity by 83%. Not only did the harmful process slow down dramatically, the body's own defense mechanism against it nearly doubled. Now there is something else happening that is equally important. A molecule your body produces called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is your artery's natural relaxant. It signals the smooth muscle in your blood vessel walls to loosen up, which widens the vessels and allows blood to flow with less resistance. This directly lowers blood pressure. As we age and as oxidative stress builds, nitric oxide production declines. Artery walls become stiffer. Blood pressure climbs. Research published in a peer-reviewed cardiovascular journal confirmed that pomegranate juice actively enhances the production of nitric oxide in the cells lining your arteries. It also protects existing nitric oxide from being destroyed by free radicals before it can do its job. This is the biological mechanism behind the blood pressure reductions seen consistently across multiple studies. Do you currently have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or both? Drop a comment below. I read every single response, and knowing what people in this community are navigating helps me shape what I cover next. Let me tell you about Frances. Frances was 71. She had been on a statin for 3 years when her cardiologist told her that her carotid artery showed signs of plaque thickening. Her doctor was considering adding a blood pressure medication. Frances began adding pomegranate juice to her morning routine, alongside, not instead of, her existing medications. After 8 months, Frances went back for a follow-up ultrasound. Her carotid intima media thickness, the measurement doctors use to assess plaque accumulation, had stabilized. Her systolic blood pressure was down 11 points. Her cardiologist was surprised. He did not add any new medications, and he told her that whatever she was doing, she should keep doing it. Now let us talk about the blood pressure evidence, because this is where the most consistent findings exist across the largest number of studies. A meta-analysis analyzing 14 separate clinical trials involving over 500 individuals found that daily pomegranate juice consumption produced a statistically significant reduction in systolic blood pressure of just over 5 millimeters of mercury on average. That might sound modest, but a 5-point reduction in systolic blood pressure is associated with roughly a 14% lower risk of heart disease events and about a 17% lower risk of stroke. 5 points matter enormously when they compound over years. And there is one more piece of this story I consider the most underappreciated finding of all. Chronic low-grade inflammation in the arterial walls is now understood to be one of the primary drivers of heart disease, arguably as important as cholesterol levels. A randomized controlled trial studying adults specifically between 55 and 70 found that pomegranate extract produced a statistically significant decrease in interleukin-6, one of the primary inflammatory signaling molecules associated with cardiovascular risk. The same marker cardiologists now monitor as a predictor of future cardiac events. Pomegranate reduced it measurably in a controlled, placebo-based trial. Now here is something most people never consider when they pick up a bottle at the grocery store, and this part is important. The benefits we are discussing are directly tied to polyphenol content. Some commercial pomegranate products are diluted with grape juice, apple juice, or cheaper fruit concentrates. Others are made from concentrate in ways that significantly reduce polyphenol levels. The label might say 100% pomegranate juice while delivering a fraction of the antioxidant activity shown in the research. This is why some trials have shown weaker results. Not an inadequate food, an inadequate product. I also want to be honest with you. Not every study on pomegranate has shown equally dramatic results. The evidence on LDL cholesterol reduction specifically is mixed across trials. What the overall body of research supports is meaningful improvement in oxidative stress, inflammation, and blood pressure, with more variable effects on cholesterol that appear most pronounced in people whose levels are already elevated. This is a real, evidence-backed dietary strategy, not a guaranteed outcome for everyone. Let me tell you about Gerald. Gerald was 68. His annual physical had not brought good news. His triglycerides were elevated. His LDL was high. His blood pressure was consistently above where his physician wanted it. His doctor prescribed a low-dose statin and encouraged dietary changes. Gerald did both. But he also started drinking 1 cup of pure pomegranate juice every morning with breakfast. Every single morning for 6 months. At his 6-month follow-up, every number had moved in the right direction. His doctor attributed the improvements to the statin and dietary changes. Gerald did not argue. He just kept drinking his morning cup. So here is exactly what I want you to do. The first step is choosing the right product. You want 100% pure pomegranate juice. No added fruit juices, no added sugars, no concentrates blended with other fruits. If you prefer a supplement form, look for products standardized to contain punicolagens with third-party testing certification on the label. The second step is the amount and timing. Drink 8 ounces every single morning with breakfast, rather than on an empty stomach. Consistency is everything. The studies showing significant arterial benefits use daily consumption over 12 months or longer. Within 6 to 8 weeks of consistent use, many people begin seeing measurable improvements in home blood pressure monitoring. The third step is to measure and track. If you have a home blood pressure cuff, Establish a baseline reading at the same time each morning before your juice for the first 2 weeks, then monitor weekly. If a cholesterol panel is coming up, let your doctor know you have added daily pomegranate juice. The fourth step is understanding who should be cautious. If you take a calcium channel blocker for blood pressure, pomegranate juice can increase the concentration of that medication in your bloodstream. That interaction is documented. If you are on blood thinners, speak with your physician before starting. And if you are managing type 2 diabetes, begin with 4 ounces rather than 8 while monitoring your blood glucose response. Please do not stop or reduce any existing cardiovascular medication based on anything you learn here. The fifth step is patience and context. Pomegranate juice does its best work in a body that is also moving regularly, sleeping adequately, and eating predominantly whole foods. The results are achievable, but they are part of a picture, not the whole picture. Here is what I want to leave you with. The research on pomegranate juice is among the most consistent in nutritional cardiovascular science. It has been found to reduce arterial plaque thickness, lower systolic blood pressure meaningfully, reduce the oxidation of LDL cholesterol, boost the body's own antioxidant defenses, and decrease inflammatory markers linked to cardiovascular events. 1 cup every morning. The right product chosen carefully, used consistently over months, not days, and your physician informed about what you are doing. Drop a comment below and tell me whether you are going to try this, or if you already drink pomegranate juice and have noticed a difference, share your experience. Your story may be exactly what someone else in this community needs to hear. If this gave you something useful today, please share it with someone managing blood pressure or cholesterol. One piece of the right information at the right time genuinely changes outcomes. Subscribe if you have not already, because next week I am covering a specific mineral deficiency that research suggests affects more than 50% of adults over 65. One that cardiologists now believe is quietly contributing to irregular heart rhythm and high blood pressure in millions of people who have no idea their levels are low. That is a video you will not want to miss. Take good care of yourselves. I will see you next week.